Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Nerd News Review. My name is Tyler, and today we're going over a game that a lot of people have been waiting a long time for, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. This is going to be part one of a review because there's so much to this game. So in this review, I'm going to be going over a lot of the abilities, changes to the other game, but not a lot of plot. Most of the time that I've put into this game has just been shrines and extra stuff. The small amount of plot that I do want to cover is just the stuff kind of at the top of the game. There is a tutorial area, much like the plateau in Breath of the Wild, but this one features the new floating islands. But outside of that, it's extremely similar to the other tutorial where you go through some shrines, you get your first heart piece, and then you're off to the races. You're experiencing the vastness that is Tears of the Kingdom. However, I would recommend just doing the main story for a little bit after the tutorial because that's the fastest way to get to the glider, and then it's much easier to experience all the game has to offer. Through the tutorial is where you get to experience all the new abilities, and I do have to say, absolute game changer. They are incredible in every way and in ways I couldn't even imagine until I saw way more creative people on the internet doing stuff with them. So I'm just going to take a minute and kind of break each of those down. Most of them you've seen in the trailers, so they're not really spoilers. The first one being what I would say is probably the most popular is the Ultra Hand. The Ultra Hand is this weird combination of what used to be the magnet skill, but now you can fuse miscellaneous things, whether it be, boards or wheels. It's a lot of the contraptions that you see in the trailers and everything that people have built when it comes to like cars and houses and weird stuff like that. You can get some pretty crazy combos, especially with some of the tools that I'll be talking about later that you can get. You can create massive things. I mean, there's literally people walking around making robots or gliders or these crazy contraptions with just the Ultra Hand and some of the tools. The second ability, which was one of my favorites, but at the same time was kind of weird and had some odd mechanics in it, was Fuse. Fuse really had three benefits to it. The first one being that's how you made tools. Instead of having to remember where that sledgehammer was or where you get a wood cutting axe, you can just make it with the environment. The second one, which was kind of goofy, was being able to combine weapons with weapons. At first, I thought that was a really neat, fun idea, but a lot of times it came off as kind of just wacky. It was incredibly fun, like combining two spears and having a reach all the way across the map, but it was pretty broken. Now, the weapons that you do combine maintain their durability. So if you attach something like a stick to the end of like a really good durable weapon, then the stick would break. So you have to be careful, and I would highly recommend your base weapon that you're using being the more durable one. The third one, which was my favorite, was experimenting with like the different elements. Like if you combine an amber with a sword, then it makes it fire and different things like that. That level of creativity also goes with fusing shields because you can attach a minecart to a shield and rail grind like you're in a Sonic game for some reason. Or you can attach the tools like the flamethrower or the fan to blow enemies around or catch environments on fire. The third ability is kind of niche, but it adds a lot of puzzle solving to a lot of things, is Ascend. Ascend basically allows you to go through floors to the next layer of like a walkable surface. I know that sounds weird, but it doesn't really work on like if you're under a tree or anything like that. It has to be kind of an established platform, but there's also a ton of stuff that you don't think you could just do that with, but no, you can just beam yourself up like you're in Star Trek to get to the other side. The fourth ability, which is the last one that I've unlocked, but it still seems like there's two more that I haven't made it to, is called Recall, which has some of the most creative potential, but it's hard for you to remember that you have it. I always forgot about this ability. But essentially, it rewinds time and puts things backwards in the path that it got to get there. So for example, if you are on a glider, which is one of the tools that looks like a bird, and you fly it somewhere, you can use recall on it and ride it back to the destination that you previously arrived from. And I know one of the biggest praises that Breath of the Wild got was the creativity that it allowed you to use to solve puzzles. This game just cranks that up to a 10. It's pretty crazy. I don't think I did anything in the game how you were supposed to, but everything just kind of worked out. It was pretty nice. The next thing I want to talk about is some of the things that I don't want to say I was disappointed with, but I kind of had some expectations with. The first one being cooking. They drastically improved cooking by giving you like recipes that you can just quick select. but you still have to cook everything individually. One of my biggest complaints in the first game was how much time I had to spend just throwing the same ingredients in to get some health items or elixirs that I kind of knew. At least you get the recipe book, but I still would have liked it if I could have just made 3 of a thing. But outside the being able to select multiple things to cook, all the other quality of life things when it comes to like subtle differences with the stamina bar or getting up faster when you get knocked down, so much better. It's a significant increase in all quality of life across the board. I want to address one thing that it seems like is bothering a lot of people, and that is that the base map is relatively unchanged from Breath of the Wild. I would agree that that is a big problem if they didn't add 2 entirely brand new sections of the map, being the sky and the depths. Both of those locations add a completely different feel to the game and are their own respective maps, especially the depths. I want to start with the depths because I felt like it was a significant change from the base game. You can essentially go into a cavern now, and the whole length of the map is now underground in a new biome. The depths is kind of like a challenge area. It almost felt like the underground of Elden Ring, where it felt like everything was kind of ramped up extra, but as soon as you leave, you kind of just had the base experience again. It was some of my most fun I've had playing the game so far, is going through the darkness that is the depths and lighting away and really feeling like an adventure without going into a specific temple. The Sky Zone seemed to be the primary focus of a lot of the trailers, and they went hard. It was great. The entire tutorial area, I haven't honestly been able to explore many of the sky areas, but every one that I have been to has been incredibly memorable and an excellent experience. I also think the shrines are a huge upgrade to this game. In Breath of the Wild, after you go through about 10 to 20 shrines, they really just kind of felt like rehashes of things that you had done before. But in Tears of the Kingdom, I have seen so many different shrines that make you think outside of the box on just the 4 abilities that you're given, and it's crazy the combinations that come together to make truly unique experiences. I genuinely believe that no 2 people can go through this game the same way. One more thing that is returning from Breath of the Wild is weapon durability. I know that this has a lot of mixed feelings. Some people like it, some people don't like it. I kind of err on the side of not liking it. I wish not everything broke. I understand that it kind of forces you to go outside of your comfort zone with what's available to you at the time, but it kind of just creates hoarding to a certain degree. And then you don't really use the weapons that you want to use because you're afraid of losing them, and then it takes time to go back and get them again. So I think it would have been easier to just bump up the durability or let you keep some weapons permanently through some kind of upgrade. One thing I really appreciated is quest tracking is much easier in this game. Now in your quest log, they break it up a little bit more clear between main quests, side quests, and now adventures. All of them have unique journal entries that you can read previously what you had done, and it's way easier to not get lost if you're revisiting something that you didn't handle immediately. The amiibos are back as well. They are basically identical to Breath of the Wild. I do have some of them, especially for some of the armor sets. I went and ordered some of them online because I had to have the Fierce Deity set. It's my favorite version of Link that's ever existed, and I was definitely getting it. It does seem like they've made some minor changes. I haven't really figured out a lot of them. I know that they changed some of them because when I scanned in the Wolf Link one, it now just summons a pile of meat, so that's pretty concerning. Outside of that, the amiibos are still pretty broken. They give you tons of resources. They give you really good weapons. I normally don't use them on my first playthrough. I just knew that I had to have Fierce Deity because it's my favorite. But to wrap things up, this really does feel like Breath of the Wild 2. Everything that you liked about Breath of the Wild is still here. Everything is better, improved, and it is a direct upgrade. But they did it in a way that just didn't feel like glorified DLC. This genuinely felt like a game that could stand on its own, and it was the absolute best version of what they could have given us. They trimmed all the fat, they dotted all their I's, and they crossed all their T's, and they sent out an absolute banger of a Zelda game. Just from first impressions, this is the most fun I have ever had in a Zelda game, probably outside of Twilight Princess and Majora's Mask. When it comes to story, I can't really report on that yet. I haven't done much of it, but from just gameplay and sheer fun that I'm having, it's been a long time, and I really enjoyed Breath of the Wild. But I think with all that being said, I think I'm going to give Tears of the Kingdom a 9 out of 10. I think they absolutely knocked it out of the park. They gave us a sequel that, yeah, it did reuse assets, but it clearly stands alone as its own amazing game. And I think the only thing that it's lacking is kind of direction. I enjoy the freedom, which is why the game is incredibly fun, but the storytelling is still very vague and discombobulated a little bit to kind of not keep you on a straight path, which has its good and its bad. So that's going to wrap up everything. Stay tuned for the next review coming out Monday, where I will be talking about Fire Emblem Engage. I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you in the next review. Thank you for checking out Nerd News, everybody. We don't have advertising, so you are the advertising. If you like it, tell a friend, like, comment, subscribe, even leave a review on Apple. Everything that you do to support us, we truly appreciate it. And we actually just launched our Patreon, so if you'd like to support us even more, you can go check that out. All of our content is free. We have different rewards for different tiers, so check that out. And thanks again. We'll catch you next time.